Swords of the Seven Suns by Gardner F. Fox, originally published in Planet Story, Spring 1947, read by Jon Gill. Part 11. Mornal lay on a great wide plain where tall grasses swayed in the breeze. Far beyond it, a low-lying range of mountains girdled the plains like a belt. This was the first trip Flane had ever made in the air. Every Magnus ship in Clarn was long since rusted in its uselessness, for lack of power to repair the ravages of time. It was an eerie sensation, looking down on the rooftops and streets and domed temples. Evelyn stood with her shoulder warm against his beside the rail. "That is the culture the Darksiders would destroy," she said softly. "They would fling the blanket of their ignorance over it, make it as the ground for their megathons to race on." Flane shook his head, eyes a little sad. "That is not what the Darksiders wish, Evelyn," he frowned. "Put yourself in their place. Let us pretend that you and I are Darksiders, say of 25 years ago. We come through the mountain passes on our megathons and sit looking at that great city. Remember, this is in the days when the machine functions. We see the city lighted by the globular lights my mother, the Princess Glea, used to tell me of. We see ships rise and sail majestically through the air. We see houses built so that the sandstorms cannot wreck them. What emotions do we feel? Awe and jealousy, yes. We want the security, the happiness of that city. We do not wish to destroy it. We would be only too willing to be allowed to come and dwell in it. But the Clarnva will not have us." The red-haired girl stared up at Flane, a long nailed hand brushing back a look of her russet hair. Her eyes were wide. "You are strange, Flane. You can see others and feel for them as they themselves. We Clarnva are not like that." A bit boastfully, Flane said, "That is because I am not a Clarnvan myself. I am the son of the space travelers, whom you saw in the big ship. I wish I knew what my people were like." "You almost make me feel sorry for the Darksiders," whispered the girl, standing close to him. Flane held her soft and warm in the crook of his arm. With his lips he caressed her cheek and mouth tenderly. He whispered, "The union of a space traveler and a Clarnvan might bring forth a new breed of men and women." Evelyn flushed and hid her face in his throat, but her fingertips stroked his jaw gently, lovingly. "A new race of men," Flane went on dreamily. "Men who would live with the Darksiders and Clarnvan in peace, with food for all and trade to make all men wealthy." "It's a good dream," whispered Evelyn, "but foolish." "It is foolish," thought Flane, "because the races on Clarn are sliding backwards to barbarianism. If only the machine functioned. Why, if he, Flane, could make the machine hum, he could unite the men on Clarn. They would obey his dictates, or he would refuse them the powers of the machine. It was as simple as that. The shouting of a lookout roused him. With Evelyn at his side, he went to stand at the rail, staring across the plains towards Mornal. A man was on a racing megathon, bent low across his back, swooping like a swallow in flight down the gulches and up across the level plain. Once he flung up an arm and waved it at the ship. A rope was flung to him, and he came up it hand over hand. Panting, the messenger stood before Hearth. "Word has come from the Clarn," he sobbed from weariness. "The Mechnics have invited the Darksiders to join them in expelling the Dulars. They promise the Darksiders that for their help they will aid them to conquer the other cities of Clarnva." Hearth grunted curses, looking at Flane. Flane patted his weapon and grinned mirthlessly. "We'd better hurry, Hearth. Perhaps we can catch the Darksiders before they unite with the Mechnics. If ever they join forces, even this violet fire in my hands may not be enough to stop them." He said to the messenger, "How many of the Darksiders go to Clarn?" "They are as the stars twinkling in the sky on a cold winter's night," he answered. "They have with them many queer engines of destruction. They march side by side with the mountain chain, so that we of the plains will not notice them." "I posted spies on the fastest megathons we owned," said Hearth. "Were they the ones that brought this news?" "They are. They said that even if we could equip an army with megathons as fleet of theirs, there would be no chance to overtake the Darksiders." Flane walked back and forth like a caged Valgon. He saw ruin of all his hopes crashing around him. No longer was there chance to unite Darksider and Clarnva. If once the Mechnics and the Outlanders joined forces, they would be mad with bloodlust, with the hot urge to kill and conquer. It was too late. Even the violet weapon would not help him, unless... He whirled on Hearth, crying, Full speed over those mountains. We are the sole hope of the Clarnva, we in this magnaship. Under our feet is the only power that can bring us to the Darksiders before they merge with the Mechnics. Are you mad? Whispered Hearth, eyes round. We number a few score on this ship. Can we stand before the Darksiders in battle? Can't you see? We have to. If we fail, then there will be none to mourn us, for the Darksiders and the Mechnics will sweep over the cities of the Clarn as a sandstorm sweeps the desert. We can't stop to reckon consequences. It is all or nothing. We must toss the dice and clean our weapons. Evelyn stood by his side. Red mouth curved into a tiny smile. He asks us to go with him and taste death, Hearth, she whispered. We have no chance, and yet I vote to go with him. Hearth shrugged. What use for me to speak? If the hereditary princess of the Mornalian Clarnva says we fight, then we fight. There were tears in Evelyn's eyes as she looked at Flame. She whispered, If only we had a chance. End of Part 11. Thank you for listening.